Hello, good morning students. Welcome to this video lecture series. So dear student, today we'll discuss verbal and non-verbal communication. Yesterday we talked about formal and non-formal communication. So just let's recap, just revise within a minute. What was formal communication? Formal communication means official communication. Alright? Formal communication means official communication. Formal communication is used in organizations, in companies, in universities, in colleges, okay, and where there are different stages and steps. There is an organizational hierarchy, okay. In formal communication, there is superior and subordinate relationship, okay. All this we discuss in formal communication. Then we had talk on informal communication. Informal communication, that was quite casual. So informal communication, as we discussed yesterday, informal communication is casual way of talking, okay, or it is also called unofficial communication, okay. Simple chit chat, gossiping, conversation among friends, family members, peer groups, that is called informal communication. All right, today we are going to talk about verbal and non-verbal communication. This communication is based on the way of delivery. How do you deliver your message or content? Okay, so see, verbal communication and non-verbal communication. We will begin with verbal communication. Here today we'll begin with verbal communication. What is verbal communication? Verbal communication involves words. Yes, verbal communication involves words. Right now I am interacting with you. I am talking, I am speaking. I am using words, I am using certain language. I am interacting with you in English language. I am using English language. I am using English words. All right. So this communication is called verbal communication. Why? Because in this communication, words are used, language is used. Got it? I am interacting, I am sharing with you this content by speaking. So I am delivering the content by speaking, and that too in English language. All right. So verbal communication involves words. It involves a language. All right. So this language, as we discussed in our previous videos, that this language must be common. Okay, this is a common system, or this is a common method. I am speaking in English, and at the other end you must be understanding whatever I am speaking. Means you must be well familiar with English. All right, that we discussed in our previous video. So I am in verbal communication, I am using words. So that is called verbal communication. Okay, earlier before this COVID era, okay, we used to have physical classes where students and teachers sitting face to face interacting with each other. All right, right now this is online mode of teaching. I'm teaching you, this class is being recorded, and at the other end you are watching me as well as listening to me. All right, so here I'm speaking in language, I'm speaking in English, I'm using this language. All right, so this is not only speaking, I can give you the things in writing. मैं आपको राइटिंग में भी कुछ बता सकता हूँ, कुछ लिख के मैसेज कर सकता हूँ, आपको ईमेल कर सकता हूँ. दैट इज ऑल्सो वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन. वाई? बिकॉज इन राइटिंग ऑल्सो वर्ड्स एंड लैंग्वेज इज यूज. हम राइटिंग में भी, लिखने में भी किसी भाषा को यूज करते हैं और शब्दों को यूज करते हैं. So verbal communication is not only, it involves not only speaking and writing. Verbal communication can be oral as well. Oral आप हिंदी में कहते हैं जिसको मौखिक. All right. So मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ that is verbal communication, but at the same time if I give you this content in writing, that is also verbal communication. Why? Because in writing too we use particular language, vocabulary, words, etc. All right. So ये होता है verbal communication. इज इट क्लियर? क्लास में आमने सामने बैठना, इंटरव्यू होना, मीटिंग्स होना, ग्रुप डिस्कशन करना, ठीक है, टेलीफोन पे, मोबाइल पे किसी से बात करना. ऑलराइट, वे रेडियो और टेलीविजन पे हम जो भी प्रोग्राम्स वगैरह देखते हैं, दैट इज वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन. Okay, all are the examples of verbal communication. Is it clear? So let's have a look on the board. Verbal communication. In verbal communication, a person uses words either in the form of speaking or writing to exchange information or message. A person must use words to express or to exchange information or message. Alright, so verbal communication uses words, particular language. It takes place in the form of oral as well as written format. मैंने जैसे कि आपको बताया, it takes form in the form of oral. Oral means oral, by speaking, or it may be in written form as well. Got it? As a written format between two or more persons. Meetings, letters, report, emails, memos, group discussions, interviews, face-to-face conversation, telephone calls, radio, etc. All these are the example of verbal communication. Okay, in group discussions, in interviews, in seminars, in conferences, all right, in meetings, in letters, in reports, in emails, we use particular words and we use particular language. All right, so that is called verbal communication. So for verbal communication, what is required? Language, vocabulary, clarity of voice, intonation, all right, your consciousness, relevance of the content, clarity, etc. Language, vocabulary, intonation, clarity, consciousness, comprehension, brevity, brevity matlab shortness, precision, etc. are some important elements of verbal communication. Alright, non-verbal communication. Alright, in verbal communication, words are used. Non-verbal means that is not verbal. So in non-verbal communication, we do not use words. Yes, in non-verbal communication, words are not used. Then what is used? Simply gestures. किसी को कोई इशारा करके बात कर दी, आई कांटेक्ट कर दिया, तो पता लग जाएगा अगले वाले को व्हाट यू आर कन्वेइंग. Okay, your touch will tell what you want to convey. Okay, postures, gesture, body posture, body language, ये सारे होते हैं वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन. ओके, एक अजीब सा साइलेंस, चुपचाप बैठे रहना, कोई रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करना, दैट इज ऑल्सो कम्युनिकेशन एंड दैट इज कॉल्ड नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन. So in non-verbal communication, words are not used. Rather, our five senses are used: eyes, our ears, our mouth, our facial expression, our body posture, or gestures. Okay, how do we look at somebody? It conveys a lot. Okay, suppose you push somebody like this. Okay, it also conveys a message. All right, sometimes you neglect something, that also imparts certain thing. Okay, your posture, your body language, all these convey certain message, and that is called non-verbal communication. All right, so let's have a look. Non-verbal communication, words are not used. As I told you, in non-verbal communication, no word is used. Then बट द विजुअल क्यूज सच एज फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन, आपके फेस के जो एक्सप्रेशन है वो बहुत कुछ बता देगा. आप कभी आंख ऐसे कर रहे हो, यूं देखते हो, नीचे देखते हो, इधर देखते हो, नेग्लेक्ट करते हो. ओके, तो थ्रू दीज डिफरेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन यू कन्वे द मैसेज. यू आर नॉट यूजिंग एनी लैंग्वेज, आप कोई लैंग्वेज यूज नहीं कर रहे हो, बट आप फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन के थ्रू अपना मैसेज कन्वे कर रहे हो. ऑलराइट, सो दैट इज ऑल्सो कम्युनिकेशन. जेस्चर्स, किसी भी प्रकार का जेस्चर करना, इशारा करना, वेव करना, ये भी मैसेज को कम्युनिकेट करना. आई कॉन्टैक्ट, हाउ डू यू कॉन्टैक्ट? योर आई कॉन्टैक्ट when you see, okay, at somebody and you maintain that eye contact, it conveys a message. Okay, through your eye contact you will convey. Okay, sometimes you say like this, left right means no, sometimes up and down, yes. So that is called eye contact. All right, And then posture, how do you sit, how do you stand? Okay, like this. Okay, it also conveys, okay, it also imparts what exactly you want to convey. Alright, body language, tone of voice to express feeling. You are not speaking but simply tone of voice, not word but voice, certain voice that come out through your thought, that will also say, okay, that will also express your feeling, that are you happy, excited, worried, or tense. Got it? Are used, then it is called non-verbal communication. So in non-verbal communication, words are not used, rather body language, gestures, postures, eye contact, etc. are used. Non-verbal communication may be accomplished by the following means, as we discussed above. Silence. You are not responding, you are not reacting. It also conveys a message that what exactly you want to say or do. Then sound, simple sound, voice or any sort of sound will convey the message. Physical appearance, your physical appearance will convey. Gesture, posture, facial expression, eye contact and touch, as always we have discussed earlier. So all these are the things that convey message or information. So see, non-verbal communication involves our five senses. Non-verbal communication involves our senses, okay, and through senses we impart, we convey the message. All right, here we do not use any word. Yes, we can utter or we can shout, okay, there may be a voice. There's a difference between voice and word. Voice and sound can be used in non-verbal communication, but no word is used in non-verbal communication. That is the difference. All right, suppose you create certain sort of spatial voice or sound, okay, if you are not, okay, creating from yourself by using certain object, if you suppose you ring the bell, it also conveys many things. All right, so this is called non-verbal communication. Is it all right? So what is the difference between verbal communication and non-verbal communication? In verbal communication we use words, language, etc. In non-verbal communication we do not use any word or language. All right, verbal communication, okay, conversation, face-to-face conversation, meetings, seminars, discussions, interview, okay, these are the examples of verbal communication, okay, where conversation takes place by using words or languages. Whereas in non-verbal language we do not use any language, any word, we simply use our senses, our eyes, our touch, okay, facial expression. Is it clear? So these are the major differences. All right. So see, dear students, so far we talked on communication. What is communication? Then we had we discussed certain definitions of communication. Then we discussed the process of communication, and then we talked on types of communication. And even in this type of communication, firstly we talk of formal and non-formal communication. Okay, and then we discuss verbal and non-verbal communication. Is it all right? So, from your examination point of view, this topic is very, very important. Okay, you must learn, and this is very easy, very easy topic. Once you go through, you will understand the things. Okay, this is very related to our own existence. Okay, as a human being, we have a natural urge to talk. We have a natural urge of talking. Okay, we talk naturally. We talk with other person. Maybe we are familiar with that person or we are not familiar, but we have that natural tendency, that natural urge to communicate. All right. So being human, we do always communicate with people, and at times we communicate with ourselves as well. All right. So this is all for today's lecture. I hope you must have got it. So don't forget, today we discussed verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication includes, or verbal communication involves words. Words may be of any language. All right. So words, languages, vocabulary, all these things are the part or component or elements of verbal communication. Whereas non-verbal communication does not use any language, rather it uses the involvement of our senses. All right, our touch, our eye contact, the way we create, okay, or create certain voice or sound, okay, these convey a lot. Our body language, gestures, posture, okay, etc. are used in non-verbal communication. All right, so thank you very